Zelos never ceases to surprise us with the type of watches that they put out as a brand, and a lot of their watches that I've reviewed on this channel were right up my alley. As an enthusiast and a geek, I like many of their watches, but not all of them. Some of the watches, some of the designs that I've actually seen have been a little bit questionable, and that's just me, and that's fine, because it is a subjective hobby after all. And what's good in one person's eyes might not be the next person's cup of tea. Now, the watch that I've got in my hands today is a modern interpretation of a pilot's watch. And one of the things that drew me to it first and foremost is that orange coloured lume. It's also got that natural tiger eye stone as the central focus of that dial, and I think in certain lighting scenarios the colour of that stone and that orange lume seem to line up beautifully. And after spending a week on the wrist with this watch, I want to share my findings and experience with this piece, albeit I did find a couple of areas on this watch, on the design, a little bit questionable, and I'll share more about that in the course of this review. So without further ado, let's flip the camera and let's dive in. Now, the design of this watch is predominantly aimed at providing very good legibility, being a pilot's watch of course, and in this case, with this particular layout, I found that to be the case. And I say this particular one here because looking at the other variants, I suspect that some dials might perform better than others when it comes to legibility. Being made of 316L stainless steel, having a very thin profile and good footprint on the wrist, I found the comfort factor and wearability on the wrist has actually been on a very high level throughout the week. And obviously swapping it out for a deluxe strap appropriately matched for me as far as I'm concerned, I think visually this looks great. Now, I do want to share the watch's strengths and praises, but I also want to share the areas where I think that the watch falls down in some design choices and could potentially offer room for improvement. Now, Zelos has sponsored this video, so if you're keen on this watch, I will leave the links in the description section of this video. And knowing Zelos, when they release watches with limited numbers or limited runs, I suspect that these watches will probably not last very long as soon as they go live on the 29th of October. Looking at its physical dimensions, I measure a case diameter of 39mm with a case height of exactly 9. The lug to lug is 45.2 and a lug width of 20. That crown is a 5.9mm conical push-pull crown. The watch offers 50 meters of water resistance. The total weight on the steel bracelet sized to my 18cm wrist, I measure exactly 107 grams. Now, on the wrist I found this watch to be very comfortable, because coming in at 107 grams on the supplied bracelet, it's actually been a real pleasure. The case height is thin. I measure 9mm exactly to the top of that box sapphire crystal. And flipping the wrist over looking at that clasp, I think this is one of the nicest on-the-fly toolless adjustable clasps, because it's a very nice size, it's practical, and most importantly, it actually can be adjusted when the watch is on the wrist. A simple push of the logo on that clasp, which doubles up as a button, allows for the strap to be lengthened or shortened as needed. So in that area on that bracelet, I think they've done really well. Now, turning the watch over, you'll notice there's an exhibition case back, and this watch is powered by a Swiss ETA 7001. It's a vintage movement from the 70s, and it's been completely reworked with modern bridges, exposed gear trains, blued screws, and also an engraved barrel. And looking at that case back, it seems to offer a mix of vintage charm and modern style. And I've placed this watch on the time grapher, and it's been running at exactly +6 seconds per day. Now, one of the heroes of this watch has also been that dial. You've got that natural tiger eye stone smack dead in the middle of this dial, accompanied by orange coloured lume plots and Arabics, and I think it complements it beautifully, because that dial comes alive and gives off a really nice colour depending on the lighting environment. And speaking of that orange lume, it's actually Swiss Superluminova, and when I dim down the lights, there's a very nice even application, both on the markers as well as that handset. I think for a pilot style watch, it's doing a sufficient job, and the legibility and readability is actually very good. But turning the watch over and looking at that case back, there's also a lumed ring which surrounds that movement. And it's an interesting feature. I'm not sure whether people are going to find that practical in usage or not, but it is there nonetheless. Now, moving on to my gripes or room for improvement section of this watch, although it's been a very comfortable experience, it's been legible, it's been fun, there are areas which I think could offer room for improvement. Number one, I said it before, I'm not a fan of limited runs, limited edition watches. I don't care if it's an Omega or if it's a Seiko. These particular watches, as with all Zelos watches, are limited in their runs. The one that I've got in my hand is limited to 75 pieces. You've got a P51 Mustang version which has only 25 variants, and there's that tantalum piece which again is limited to a run of 50. I understand how Zelos does their marketing and so forth. They put out these limited runs, they sell out pretty quickly. Once they're gone, they're gone. Never been a fan. I understand higher horology when a manufacturer actually, artisans make a watch from scratch. It might take them 6 months to a year to actually make a watch. I can understand a horology piece being limited in its run, maybe 10 pieces for the year or something. I get that, but when it comes to stuff that's mainstream, that can be mass produced, never been a fan. But just putting it out there for you. Secondly, for me, the price of this watch is not inexpensive. They start at $16.99 and go all the way to $24.99 for the tantalum version. That's US dollars. And when I convert that to Aussie dollars, that's nothing to be snuffed at. So they're not cheap watches by any means. Now, another area for me which I don't particularly like, and that's when a watch does not hack. And this movement, obviously being from the 70s, it does not have a hacking or stop seconds feature. I know that this particular watch runs at plus 6 seconds per day, but pretty much irrelevant. At the end of the day, if you can't hack the watch and get an accurate time setting, it doesn't make any difference, neither here nor there. I also want to speak about that lume on that case back. I don't think it's a necessity. Is it a usable feature? Honestly, if the watch is on your wrist all day and you come in from sunlight, well, the front's charged, but the back is not. So you're not going to see it unless you actually physically charge it or take it off, take it out into the sun, or use a lume light to charge it. So it's a bit of a gimmick. It's fun. I don't have a problem as a geek or an enthusiast. I like it, but it's something that's there and doesn't really offer any usable function. And lastly, I want to talk about that bracelet. And this is why I've been wearing it on this particular strap. It's just a strap from D-Lugs that I had lying around. I think it suits this watch better because the styling of that bracelet, and this is again subjective, I don't like its styling. The polish centers, I think just a simple 3-link bracelet of sorts maybe would have suited this watch a little bit better. I could be wrong. Your eyes might see it differently. I didn't bond very much with that bracelet. I loved its comfort. I loved its usability. I didn't like its look. So as soon as I put it on this D-Lug strap, I think the watch just came alive and just brought a whole new dynamic. I thought, that's how I would have released it. That's how I would have released the watch if I was Zelos. The bracelet as an option, potentially. But I think the use of different textures on those dials is a very good idea. It brings something fresh and fun to the table. A bit of experimental stuff is always a good thing, and Zelos most times seems to be breaking most of the rules and never ceases to amaze us with some of the stuff they're coming out. Some of them, in my eyes, they work really well, others not so much. This one here does work, and apart from those areas which I mentioned in the room for improvement section, it's actually been a very easy watch to get along with on the wrist and to live with. So I hope you enjoyed my take on this brand new Zelos Comet. A modern take on a pilot's watch with a very interesting choice of movement, skeletonized, reworked. I think the watch is stylish, playful and fun, albeit the price is very expensive. And if you can justify all those things, we'll probably soon see that when the watch goes live on the 29th, the majority of these models shouldn't last too long on their website. Continue to do your homework when buying watches, and most of all, take your time and build up a collection that's personalized for you and suits your particular lifestyle. Thank you for watching.